The alien froze, eyes wide, a glowing plasma blade shaking in her hand. "You're not going to eat me, right?" she whispered. The human blinked, holding a mug of coffee, shirt half-buttoned. "Eat you? Lady, I can barely cook toast." Somewhere between fear and disbelief, the universe's strangest love story had just begun. The smell of burnt sugar and ozone drifted through the small apartment, the kind that always followed Zira's experiments with human food. Eric set his mug on the counter slowly, careful not to make any sudden moves. Across from him, the crimson-skinned alien held her plasma cutter like it was the only thing between her and doom. "Zira," he said softly, raising both hands. "We don't eat people here. We do pancakes. Big difference." Her pupils tightened to slits. "Lies," she hissed. "I studied your species' predator history. The larger male consumes the smaller mate after failed fertilization. It's efficient." "Efficient?" Eric's eyebrows shot up. "That's not romance, that's a barbecue." For a moment, neither moved. Only the quiet hum of Eden 9's orbiting engines filled the air. The colony's morning light streamed through glass panels, turning Zira's metallic skin into ripples of rose and gold. She looked more goddess than threat if goddesses trembled while holding industrial tools. Finally, Eric sighed. "Okay, how about a demonstration? Watch closely." He opened the fridge, pulled out a carton of eggs, and cracked one into a pan. "See, breakfast. The only thing getting fried today is cholesterol." Zira blinked, the plasma cutter lowering by inches. The sizzling sound seemed to mesmerize her. "You waste potential offspring." "For flavor?" "Pretty much," he admitted. "Welcome to humanity." Confusion softened into reluctant curiosity. She stepped closer, sniffing the air, the plasma cutter still humming but forgotten in her hand. "It smells warm. That's butter." The cornerstone of civilization. When she finally tasted the scrambled eggs, her expression shifted from suspicion to astonishment. "This is delightful." "You're certain this is not ritual consumption?" "Positive," Eric said with a grin. "If it were, I'd have invited candles." Zira set the cutter aside, exhaling a shaky laugh that sounded almost human. The tension in the room melted. In that single, ridiculous exchange, something ancient cracked open between them. Fear giving way to curiosity, instinct bending toward trust. Outside the viewport, Eden 9 spun above a turquoise planet. Inside, an alien woman learned that not every species turned love into survival. Some simply called it breakfast. By afternoon, the smell of burnt eggs had faded, replaced by the faint scent of copper and ozone from Zira's skin. She sat cross-legged on the couch, datapad in hand, still processing everything she had learned about humanity, pancakes, butter, and a complete lack of post-mating cannibalism. Eric leaned against the doorway, watching her scroll through his old Earth movies. "Oh, you know," he said, "you don't have to research us like a lab project. You can just ask." She didn't look up. "Observation prevents contamination. My people study through distance." "Right," he said, "because nothing says romance like surveillance." That earned him a small smile, her first of the day. It brightened the room more than the twin suns outside. The movie she'd chosen flickered across the wall, a human couple kissing in the rain. Zira tilted her head. "Why are they pressing their mouths together? Is that an exchange of dominance?" Eric nearly choked on his drink. "That's a kiss." "It's affection, not a power move." Her silver brows furrowed. "Strange. On Krellin, we link neural tendrils to share emotion directly. No fluids involved?" "Sounds efficient," he said, "but kind of unsanitary in its own way." She considered that, her expression softening. "You joke when uncomfortable." "Yeah," Eric admitted, "it's a survival instinct. We call it humor." Zira put down the datapad and studied him for a long moment. "Humans laugh instead of fight. You redirect fear into sound. That's evolution." He met her gaze, suddenly aware of how close she was. The faint hum of her bioluminescent veins shimmered through her skin, painting the room in faint gold. For the first time, he wasn't looking at an alien. He was looking at someone who was trying just as hard to understand as he was. Before either could speak, the intercom chimed. A crisp, mechanical voice filled the room. Incoming transmission from the Krellin Council. Subject Zyravesh. Priority, reclamation order. Her face went still, color draining from her crimson cheeks. They found me, Eric straightened. And that's bad, I'm guessing. They're sending my bonded mate to retrieve me, she whispered. And he doesn't believe in mercy. Outside, the stars burned quietly, indifferent witnesses to a connection that had just become a crime. The message kept looping in the air like a threat wrapped in light. Reclamation order confirmed. Krellin authority inbound. Zyra stood frozen, her hand pressed against her collarbone, where a faint scar pulsed. Eric could almost hear her heartbeat, too fast, too shallow. The silence stretched until he finally broke it. Reclamation? Sounds like a bad warranty policy. Her eyes flicked up, silver irises glinting with fear. It means I was property once. The mate they assigned to me, Varkesh, he's coming. Eric's joking instinct faltered. He stepped closer. And you left him? I escaped, she said quietly. I wanted to understand what love meant without instinct. Without command. Outside the window, a ship cut across the planet's curvature, a sleek, predatory silhouette sliding toward orbit. Eric's stomach sank. I'm guessing that's him, Zira nodded once. He'll challenge you. It's the only way he knows. Krellin males claimed by combat or consumption, Eric blinked. Wow, your people really skipped couples therapy and went straight to murder. That earned a trembling laugh from her. It's not funny, no, he said softly. But it's how I breathe when things get terrifying. The ship landed hours later in Eden 9's docking bay. The station trembled from the descent thrusters. Eric watched from the observation deck, jaw tight. Varkesh emerged first, taller than any human, armored in obsidian plates that shimmered like oil. His eyes, cold and crimson, found them instantly. Zyravesh, he thundered, voice amplified through the hangar. Return before shame consumes what's left of your line. Zyra took a step forward, trembling but resolute. I am not your claim. I choose my own path. Varkesh's gaze shifted to Eric, assessing, dismissive. And this fragile creature? He is your new claim? He smells of weakness. Eric crossed his arms. And you smell like an overcooked steak, but I didn't say anything. A ripple of disbelief moved through the onlookers. Zyra's jaw dropped. Even Varkesh blinked. For a single moment, the human had undone centuries of Krellin intimidation with sarcasm. Then Varkesh's mandibles flexed. You mock tradition. You will fight. Trial of logic and flesh, Eric exhaled slowly. Do I at least get to stretch first? The challenge was set. The stakes were no longer just love, they were survival. The chamber was alive with sound, a low hum from energy conduits, the pulsing rhythm of alien instruments, and the steady beat of Eric's heart, trying to drown them all out. The audience ringed the arena, silent and expectant, their metallic skin glinting under the pale lights. To them, this was ritual. To Eric, it was lunacy. Varkesh stood opposite him, a towering silhouette wreathed in vapor. Between them a drone hovered, holding 2 glass vials filled with iridescent liquid. Zyra's voice trembled from the sidelines. They're neural stimulants. They trigger instinct, magnify aggression. The test isn't about strength, it's about control. Figures, Eric muttered. Alien version of anger management. The drone descended. Both men took their vials. Varkesh raised his high, pride flashing in his dark eyes. To purity, Eric smirked. To making it out alive. They drank. The change was immediate, heat surging through Eric's veins, a metallic taste on his tongue. His pulse hammered like drums. Every instinct screamed to move, to strike, to dominate. He saw Zyra through the haze, her wide silver eyes, the way her hands clasped together, the fear that wasn't for herself, but for him. That anchored him. Across the chamber, Varkesh was unraveling. His breath came ragged, his movements jerky, primal. The stimulant was devouring him from the inside. Yield, he growled. You cannot master what is nature. Eric steadied his breathing. Funny thing about humans, we make a habit of beating nature. He didn't attack. He just stood there, fists unclenched, muscles trembling, refusing the pull. The crowd leaned forward, waiting for blood. None came. Seconds dragged into minutes, sweat pooling down his spine, every nerve on fire, but still he held. Varkesh lunged suddenly, overcome by instinct, but his steps faltered. The toxin had turned his fury into chaos. He dropped to his knees, gasping, his body shaking under its own biology. The lights dimmed. Silence fell. Eric looked down at him, chest heaving. "You lost because you thought power was in the body. It's up here." He tapped his temple. Control beats instinct. The chamber erupted, not in anger but in awe. For the first time, the Krellin had seen a species win by restraint, and in that stillness, Zyra realized he hadn't just survived for her. He had changed what her people believed possible. The crowd dispersed slowly, still whispering Eric's name, like it was some new word they didn't know how to pronounce. He sat on the edge of the arena platform, hands trembling as the stimulant faded from his system. Every muscle ached, but the silence around him felt heavier than pain. Zyra approached quietly, her steps light on the metallic floor. She stopped in front of him, eyes shining in a way that wasn't entirely from the arena lights. "You defied instinct," she said softly. "Even ours watched you and hesitated to breathe." Eric gave a tired smile. "Guess I just proved you can win a fight by doing absolutely nothing." She shook her head, kneeling beside him. "You proved choice is stronger than design." For a moment she touched his hand. Her skin was cool and electric at once. Above them, Varkesh stirred. The arena drones surrounded him but didn't bind him. He looked at Eric with something like shame, or perhaps respect. "Your restraint," he rasped, "has shown my people what control means. I will not claim her again." Eric nodded, still catching his breath. "Glad to hear it. I was running out of witty comebacks." A faint laugh spread through the gallery, uncertain but real. The tension that had ruled their species for centuries cracked, letting light through. Days later, the Krellin Council announced reforms, abolishing the consumption law, declaring will as sacred as biology. On the station, people called it the trial of reason. News feeds replayed the moment Eric refused to strike, slow motion, every blink a message to thousands who'd never questioned instinct before. When the chaos finally calmed, Zyra found him on the observation deck. The stars outside looked close enough to touch. "You've changed everything," she said. He shook his head. "We both did. You believed I could." She smiled. Small, genuine. "And now, our children will learn that survival doesn't need hunger." He froze. "Children?" She laughed, soft and mischievous. "Not yet, but perhaps someday. Don't worry, you'll get breakfast first." Eric looked out at the horizon of stars, the reflection of her silver hair beside him. "You know, for a species that used to eat its lovers, you've got a pretty good sense of humor." Zyra slipped her hand into his. "You taught me that laughter is just another way of choosing peace." Outside, the twin suns rose together. Two worlds learning at last how to share their light. In the quiet that followed the trial, two silhouettes stood against the twin suns, a human who proved that mercy could conquer instinct, and an alien who learned that love could outshine biology. Across the colony networks, their story spread like wildfire. Some called it rebellion, others called it evolution, but to those who understood it was something simpler. A moment when the universe remembered what it meant to choose. On a world built by hunger and dominance, one human taught them the courage of restraint. And somewhere out there, in a quiet apartment on Eden 9, an alien woman still laughs every morning when the smell of breakfast fills the air.